Hi, I'm Carl Pearson, and this is a interesting video for those who have members of the family who may be wishing to go back to college in September. It's entitled "The Risks of Attending Reopened College in September 2020, an Analysis." I established, owned, managed, and taught in a school for 18 years that required for its first few years a college degree for admission. That means that my school basically was postgraduate. I understand many of the problems from the standpoint of colleges and universities, but I also was a student, having earned my BA degree from the 10th largest university in the country, and a law degree from Harvard Law School. In other words, I have what you might say is 19 years of schooling, and I've been on both sides of the student loan programs. With this background, I want to analyze for students and their parents the reopening of live-in colleges and universities in light of the COVID-19 epidemic. I will give my analysis in unrelated thoughts and in no particular order. 1. Compliance with social distancing is going to be very costly for schools and cause a significant reduction in income from dormitory rentals and food charges. 2. Schools are going to lose a substantial number of their existing students who will be afraid of getting exposed to the virus and or have insufficient money to return to the school through loss of employment of the family breadwinner. 3. Some non-governmental schools such as Harvard and Stanford, just to name two well-known examples, have huge endowments and can, with little financial difficulty, afford to continue with their huge daily expense for a year or two without reducing the quality of their instruction and student activities within social distancing requirements. Here are four top endowments. Harvard, $40.9 billion. Yale, $30.31 billion. Stanford, $27.7 billion. And Princeton, $25.9 billion. A much lower amount of endowment is NYU, which has only $4.35 billion. 4. I suggest that you look into the endowment of a college or university as a relevant factor in your analysis. 5. The financial ability of the school to continue with its operations should be very much in your mind. If a school has a substantial endowment, it has the money to continue until normal operations return, and today we can't be sure what normal means. Many schools are going to switch to online courses at much lower costs that will add to the competitive pressure on schools that decide to stick with on-site schooling and reduce their income in several ways. 6. Some schools are going to accept students and start the college year, but find out that they have insufficient income to continue their operations, and will, to everyone's surprise, post a notice that they have closed, effective immediately, and all student services, including food, have stopped, and, by the way, please leave the school as soon as possible. 7. Schools are bloated businesses with far more money coming in from student loans than they would obtain in a fully competitive market. Students are charged as much as $156 per 50 minutes of instruction. That's NYU with an annual cost of $75,000 approximately. Even though the student upon graduation may earn only $15 to $20 per hour, if now he's lucky to get a job at all, and after taxes and living expenses have only $1 per hour left to pay the student loans, which probably doesn't even cover the interest on the loans. 8. Meanwhile, with 30 students in a class, the school is getting 30 times $156 per 50 minutes of instruction which is equal to $4,687 per 50 minutes of instruction. And the schools in a weak financial position won't have the assets to stay in operations if, for example, 20% or say 50% of the student body fails to show up. 9. Governmental schools, you would think, are immune to this analysis, but you are probably wrong. COVID-19 costs and unemployment and reduced purchases and profits have resulted in huge decreases in state and local tax revenues, and with no assistance whatsoever from the federal government. State and local governments, schools, are going to suffer substantial budgetary cuts, and some will be closed to try to reduce costs through school consolidation. 10. If a non-governmental school closes because it runs out of funds, there will probably be no refunds to students who paid their tuition and charges with family funds. As to payment by student loans, the Student Loan Planner website states, quote, "If your school closed and you have federal student loans, they will not be automatically dismissed. You will have to apply to get your loans discharged." 11. If a non-governmental school decides to reopen, possibly as its only chance to avoid bankruptcy and liquidation sale to a land developer or perhaps a heavily endowed school seeking to expand at bargain rates, it may skimp on the costs of social distancing and expose everyone unnecessarily to the coronavirus. 12. Schools may have contracts with highly paid professors that require the impoverished school to reopen or face bankruptcy. 13. Social distancing requirements in class may be too costly for using highly paid professors to teach the extra classes required, with the result that the teaching may be watered down with near-volunteer, low-cost TAs, that is, teaching assistants. 14. The students tend to bow to peer pressure, and there will probably be peer pressure to not wear a face mask and to violate social distancing requirements, which increases the risk of getting the disease and infecting members of the student's family as well. 15. An alternative is to wait until the next semester and or stay at home and take online classes for credit, making sure that you understand the costs and whether the credits will be accepted by the school for these students' subsequent live attendance. 16. If you still plan to attend, make sure you look at the local availability of hospital beds and ventilators, and especially the availability of testing and the statistics regarding infections, hospitalizations, and death to ensure that the area is dealing with the coronavirus competently. 17. Also, are there any nearby nursing homes, meatpacking plants, and prisons, and what are their statistics, and are these statistics real or contrived? I'm sure that there are many more things to say, but these are the main thoughts I have on having a family member returning to college in September 2020 or earlier. Well, once again, I've said what I wanted to say, and I'll be back soon with my next video.